In November 1918, on the Western Front in northern France, a written order moved slowly through shattered roads and broken command lines. The war was ending, but the ground was still killing men. By the time the message arrived, the unit it was meant for no longer existed. By the autumn of 1918, the Western Front no longer resembled the confident battlefields imagined in 1914. It was a landscape worn down by years of artillery, mud, wire, and exhaustion. Villages had collapsed into chalk and brick dust. Forests stood as blackened skeletons. The front line moved not in sweeping advances, but in short, violent shifts measured in meters and bodies. The Allied forces were pressing forward. German units were retreating in stages, often under constant fire. But retreat did not mean safety. Rear guards fought desperately. Artillery continued to fall on roads, crossroads, and supply routes. Even areas marked on maps as secured could become killing grounds within minutes. Communication remained slow and fragile. Field telephones were cut by shellfire. Runners were sent across open ground and did not return. Orders moved through layers of command, rewritten, delayed, and sometimes misunderstood. Paper messages, stamped and signed, still mattered. They carried authority. They carried timing. And timing decided who lived. One infantry company, reduced to a fraction of its original strength, was positioned near a ruined French hamlet close to the former Hindenburg Line. The men had been in motion for days. Sleep came in fragments. Food arrived irregularly. Officers worked with incomplete maps and outdated reports. No one knew precisely where the nearest friendly units were. Higher command believed this sector was stable. Intelligence suggested the enemy had pulled back during the night. Based on that assumption, a formal order was written. The company was instructed to hold position until relieved. No withdrawal. No advance. Hold the ground. The order left headquarters in the early morning. It passed through battalion channels. Then regimental staff. Then a liaison post. Each stop added minutes. Sometimes hours. Meanwhile, at the front, the assumption of stability collapsed. German artillery, firing on pre-registered coordinates, began a sudden bombardment. The shelling was not heavy by earlier war standards. But it was accurate. Dugouts caved in. Trenches filled with debris. Men were buried where they stood. When the barrage lifted, an infantry sweep followed. Short. Violent. Close range. The fighting did not last long. There were too few defenders. Ammunition was low. Medical support was non-existent. By midday, the company had ceased to exist as an organized unit. No signal was sent. No runner escaped. The map still showed a friendly position. The paperwork still moved forward. And so did the order. The battlefield did not pause to correct administrative errors. After the engagement, the area fell silent. Smoke drifted through broken walls. Equipment lay scattered in the open. There were no bodies arranged in lines. No clear markers of what had happened. Only absence. At headquarters, the war was already being discussed in the past tense. Negotiations were underway. Officers spoke carefully. Words like armistice entered conversations, though no one trusted them yet. Until the fighting stopped officially, procedure remained unchanged. A clerk logged the order's dispatch time. Another stamped it. A messenger unit received it late, after a road had been shelled and rerouted. Horses struggled through mud thickened by rain and debris. At one junction, the route was blocked by a collapsed bridge. The message detoured again. No one questioned whether the company was still alive. Reports from the front were incomplete. Silence was common. Units often went quiet for hours or days. It meant nothing by itself. When the messenger finally reached the designated command point, there was nothing to receive him. The signboard was splintered. The dugout entrance had collapsed inward. Personal items lay half-buried. Rifles without hands. Helmets without heads. The messenger waited. That was protocol. He called out. No answer. He checked the map. The coordinates were correct. Eventually, another unit passed nearby. They had advanced cautiously, unsure of the situation. From them, the messenger learned the truth. The company had been overrun earlier that morning. There were no survivors known. The ground had been retaken later, but only temporarily. The dead remained where they fell. The order was read anyway. It was signed. It was valid. It had simply arrived too late. There was no procedure for this situation. The paper could not be returned and signed. It could not be executed. It was marked as delivered. Filed. Forgotten. In the days that followed, the front moved again. The armistice came. Guns fell silent. Attention shifted toward counting divisions, supplies, and political consequences. Individual units that vanished without witnesses were absorbed into casualty totals. Names entered ledgers. Some names did not. No official report focused on the order. No inquiry followed its path. It existed only as a fragment of routine, preserved briefly in administrative records that few would ever read. The war ended loudly. But this event passed quietly, unnoticed amid larger movements and declarations. The climax of this story did not take place during the fighting itself. It unfolded later. Quietly. Inside the system that recorded the war. Several days after the position had been retaken and then abandoned again, the order reached its final destination on paper. It was logged as delivered. The time was noted. The signature was accepted. According to procedure, the task was complete. Only afterward did fragments of information begin to align. Casualty lists were updated. Unit rosters were corrected. Reports from neighboring formations filled in gaps that had existed during the battle. Slowly, it became clear that the company named in the order had already been destroyed when the message was still moving through command channels. There was no single moment of shock. No alarm was raised. The realization arrived gradually, as clerks and officers compared documents that had never been meant to meet. The order described a position to be held. The casualty list described a unit that no longer existed. Both were accurate. Both were outdated. Nothing in regulations addressed this situation. The order had not caused the deaths. It had not changed the outcome. It had simply arrived after the event it referred to had already passed. There was no error to correct and no fault to assign. The battlefield itself offered no clarification. When reconnaissance units passed through the area later, they found no clear trace of the engagement. Trenches were damaged beyond recognition. Dugouts had collapsed. The ground was churned into an indistinct surface of mud and debris. The dead had been buried quickly or remained unmarked. Without survivors, there was no testimony. Without witnesses, there was no narrative. The destruction of the company merged into the final phase of the war, a period already crowded with movement, retreat, and administrative collapse. The order remained as the only precise record connecting these events. It showed the intent of command. It showed the timing. And it showed the distance between decision and reality. Once the armistice was signed, attention shifted away from such details. Higher headquarters focused on ceasefire lines, logistics, and demobilization. Individual administrative anomalies were left untouched. The order was filed. Not as a mistake. Not as a tragedy. Simply as a completed instruction. That was the climax. Not the moment of death. But the moment the system confirmed it was already too late. The war ended, but not here. Not in this place. Not for these men. The front moved on. The guns fell silent elsewhere. This sector was already empty. Paper remained. Files were closed in distant offices. Orders were archived. The one that arrived too late stayed among them. Stamped. Logged. Complete. Indistinguishable from thousands of others. The company it named was removed from active lists. Its designation was reused. Its losses absorbed into totals. No one returned to the ruined position to ask questions. Silence required no explanation. Absence was common. Rain altered the ground. Mud filled the trenches. Edges softened. What had been lines and positions became uneven fields. Shell craters lost their shape. Dugouts collapsed inward. Temporary graves weathered. Some markers fell. Some were never placed at all. Personal items decayed without record. Metal rusted. Cloth dissolved into soil. The landscape forgot first. Maps followed. In archives, the order rested quietly. It carried no annotation. No warning. It did not describe failure. Only intent. Only timing. Anyone reading it later would see nothing unusual. A routine instruction. A routine delivery. The delay existed only between documents. Between lines of ink. Between dates. There was no official moment when the loss was acknowledged. No report connected the order to the dead. No summary explained what had been missed. The system closed the file and moved forward. It had no reason to pause. History did the same. The end of the war produced louder stories. Declarations. Armistice lines. This one remained beneath them. Unmarked. Unspoken. A company vanished. A message arrived. Nothing changed. The order fulfilled no command. It reached no living recipient. It altered no outcome. Then it disappeared into storage. Into shelves. Into silence. The ground returned to quiet. The names faded from use. The moment lost its shape. What remained was timing. Recorded. Uncorrected. The order came. After everyone was dead. If this story mattered to you, consider subscribing. More forgotten history is coming.